Oil. In whichever part of the world you decide to settle in, there is one word you will hear as a basic necessity, and the word supplier, Saudi Arabia. But now that people have opened their eyes to the effects of global warming and fossil fuels, will this be a big blow to Saudi Arabia's economy? Let's find that out. Here's a short economic analysis on the world's #1 oil supplier. In what Britannica describes as a young country that is heir to a rich history, one can say that Saudi Arabia is indeed a little giant. Although sparsely populated and rather small in land area, this Middle Eastern country has an economic freedom score of 55 and is the 118th freest country in the world based on the 2022 index. With 87% of oil exportation contributing to the government's revenue and having about 16% of the world's proven oil reserve, on top of being an OPEC leader, all I can say is that all of this makes quite a lot of sense. Just like many other states, nations and industries around the world, Saudi Arabia's economy took a real hit when in March 2020 the disease started. This was unfortunate because during the first quarter, these guys had the fastest expansion in more than a decade, thanks to the increased OPEC quota and demand for oil all over the world, which means higher prices and more money for the oil guys. Their oil accounts for about 42% of the country's GDP and has about 90% of it from export earnings. Additionally, another area for concern would be, as I have mentioned, the world villainizing fossil fuels. With the increased number of electric cars and eco-friendly companies, there is bound to be some sort of threat to oil production. With this foresight, the country is planning to pull some money from this into their $600 billion wealth fund and eventually diversify their economy by emphasizing the growth of the private sector and increasing employment for more Saudi nationals. Seeing as about 6 million of the workers are foreign, they are going to have to take a lot more measures. It is evident that Saudi Arabia has taken strategic leaps and strides, which is why the economy is kept afloat. But what about the people behind this thriving country? What role do they play? Here's a short rundown. Currently, Saudi Arabia is an absolute monarchy and is headed by decision making primarily by Prince Mohammed bin Salman due to his father's illness. Interestingly enough, the kingdom doesn't actually have a constitution, but in 1992 the then king issued a basic law of government, which is kind of like a guidebook for how the government should be run. As we speak, the crown prince assumes the power with the Allegiance Council's approval and by the king's nomination, and has been leading them for almost 5 years, pioneering the modernization of the kingdom. And yet, ironically, MBS, as he is called, has rarely even shown himself in public. Famous for his ruthlessness, the guy certainly has attracted an army of critics staring at a target on his back. Like the time he allegedly ordered the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, and even that very eventful day at Riyadh's Ritz-Carlton, where he apparently imprisoned some of his family members and wealthy people from Saudi for informal corruption charges. Now, that's definitely one way of doing it. To his credit, he did sort of revitalize the country from its quote-unquote economic slumber. He has plans of modernization from the start and all of the means to make his plans come true. Reportedly, he unveiled his Vision 2030 for the kingdom, allowing all kinds of freedom and giving a go signal for many things that may have seemed impossible from years back, like allowing hip-hop artists to hold concerts and perform, and even allowing women to drive and dress freely. Consequently, he will be opening Saudi to visitors and investments for all, which will affect a big part of their economy, whether for the good or bad. We will find out soon, but for now we all have high hope. So we give credit where it's due, I suppose. Overall, The Saudi Arabian economy has been on an upward trajectory and is still projected to stay that way in the coming years, going up to 3.6% in 2023 alone. All thanks to the guy we have mixed feelings for. So what do you guys think about this? Feel free to leave a comment down below and make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.